Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the ESL Pro League. 8 weeks of competition have led up to this, and now we're going to start to figure out who exactly will be making it to the playoffs come just over a month from now when it's time for the showdown in Dallas. SK will be taking on NRG here today. Both these teams are in contention to play off, or earn those playoff positions, excuse me. And if we do indeed see SK taking both of these maps 2-0, then they will push forward into what we're calling the safe zone to be able to remain at the very least within the top 6 and push forward into that spot. I'll need these two matches, and they're good. They have their slots secured, but we're already into it. Going into Inferno here on the pistol round, where NRG is going to be starting off on the T side. We're going to get right into the combat too. Fallen just gets chunked right at the start down to 40, and now 20 HP as he's forced to back up inside of the church. The rest of the members of NRG, though, aren't really going to follow it up with anything else. They still have Fur waiting out over here. Rotates have come through mid from the SK camp, and now coldzera holds a flank, so they're kind of stuck here in Banana now, and coldzera just ripping them to shreds. 3 kills back to back to back, and aggressively as well. Finally, response is rolling out from NRG's own end as Peter picks up 2 quick kills. Breeze has himself a free frag here, but no, misses up in a huge way, and now it's just a 1v3. Peter trying to have to clutch this out with an ace, and he's already down to 54 HP. In a moment there, he'll just end up peeking in.
Wow,
double
the rare mistake from Breeze when it comes to, aiming and technical skill. It almost never happens with him. Could have made it a very manageable situation if he got that kill, putting it into a 2v2. But yeah, the flank comes out from Cold. The lurker was all the way in alt mid, so he wasn't watching the mid rundown or anything. But NRG did have a really good nade timing onto Fallen at the start of the round. I thought that was a really, really neat thing that they did. They didn't throw it right away or anything. They delayed it until their players were around the half wall, and then they threw it while he was kind of stuck there. I thought that was pretty cool.
And now NRG are going to be holding up here as they are forced into just the buy round. They weren't not able to get the plant back on round number 1, so they're going to be stuck here, which is forcing into this one.
And it looks like we're going to see a change. So if you remember, coldzera has been playing B for SK throughout Inferno. And I remember when they did that setup, I told you, I said, it's just odd that they have him there. I'd much rather have him in the secondary op spot, if Fallen's going to primary op B, so he can run around in op A. I thought Phelps was getting caught around porch a lot, so now they actually switched. Fur going to B, Phelps moving to arch side, and Cold playing porch. We'll see if they're going to continue to do that, or if this is like a one-round thing.
Yeah. Keep our eyes on that heading into the later rounds here. But right now, NRG is trying to brute force the way up Banana pretty unsuccessfully, as you can see from Fur's perspective. Just picks up a quick triple kill there against Daps, little man Peter, and now it's just Fugly left alive. Probably not going to be able to get much done, so expect the quick second round to roll up onto the board here for SK and control things with minimal losses. Timing not working out too well for Fugly there, so Fur does indeed take him out, and he ends up with the ace on the round.
An ace, $3,000 more because of the ump kills, already at 7-0. So it looks like, he could probably be pretty good at B.
Yeah. Seems like
I actually like him at Banana if he plays there because, it's a spot that he could get aggressive, like mid-round pretty easily, I think. And I think it fits a lot of his strengths. So we'll see. They still have Fur over at B, so yeah, I think this is a switch that they made. And now Cold can kind of run around in op A if he needs to. So yeah, I think this is a good switch.
Yeah, right now I think he's pushing himself into Boiler for this round. This is just to probably shut down NRG as quickly as possible if they wanted to go for the quick halls control. Obviously, they're just on Glocks, so they are going to be having to hold themselves back a tad over towards Crossroads here. SK don't seem too scared of them. However, they're already pushing directly through mid. Good stuff from Phelps and Cole, just knocking out 2 more players over here at Crossroads. Not a whole lot of room for Fugly and Daps to accomplish all that much, and now just down to Fugly again. So 3-0, quick start for SK. Good response from Fugly, but he's definitely not going to be able to get anything else done with those 3 players rushing him. So 3-0 start for SK, and they, for the most part, in these last 2 rounds, they barely take any losses at all. I think they only lose 1 player overall there.
Yeah, and they just have a ton of money. They're going to have 4 umps. I'd be surprised if Cold doesn't buy an op here, and they just run like a 4 op setup. I think it's like incredibly powerful when you do that. The op can lock things down, make it 4v5 maybe, hold things pretty aggressively, which can allow you to like overplay certain positions. Phelps is going to pretty molly middle, it looks like.
Cole indeed playing into that porch spot that you mentioned before, so we'll be waiting.
This is going to be surprising for NRG. Like, a lot of people will straight peek mid in these situations and just kind of give up this free frag to Cold.
Rest of NRG, however, still trying to move back in and take that Hall's control that we're so used to seeing now in the gun rounds. And for the most part, they are going to get it for free. Obviously, a little bit of resistance from Taco and some of the others further down the hallway, and nades moving in, I think, early on to connect some damage onto both Breeze and Peter over here towards Banana more so. 37 HP on Breeze, though. He's already not looking too good. Peter, I think, getting hit a little bit there, too, down to just about a quarter of his health being lost there. And beyond moving into the halls here, which essentially was given to them for free, NRG still have not gained much as we now move down to a minute remaining on the clock. Even SK have chosen to get aggressive now over here on Banana. And Fugly, of course, probably going to be a little mad about that, getting tagged randomly. So he loses 20 of his own HP. Breeze, thankfully, does decide to watch out for this flank, so they won't just get completely pushed from behind and annihilated. But the other problem is going to be Fur. Well, if they're even going to check for his position. If not, he could just rip them to shreds when they do decide to push back up. At the very least, acting as an early warning, which will be the case here. Breeze catching Fur, thankfully, so he doesn't just utterly destroy the entire hit, but it is still going to slow NRG down a tad now that they've been spotted. Slow on the rotates from SK, though. Only just now we're seeing a few players go through arches. Fallen able to hold for one pick up, but it's short-lived as Breeze immediately trades him back down, and the rest of NRG moving to take control of the site. So Breeze even just continuing to push forward up onto his third kill now as he eliminates Phelps. And that should kill the potential for SK to even think about doing this retake. Now there's a 4v2. They still CT smoke back out. Cold's probably going to stick around, see if he can punish anyone trying to go hunting for him specifically. But then after that, he's going to fall back to the A site and save the op.
Yeah, and if I was Taco, I'd actually get exits here because if you do get, you know, one kill apiece, you're going to force them on an eco if you win this following round, and SK is going to have a lot of money. You know, Fur and Fallen, I actually really liked the setup that they did. Fur just got caught trying to dodge a flash. He was expecting a flash to come. Didn't come. Just, you know, got killed on the side without really doing anything. And then Fallen alone with an 5 guys rushing him and just an flash bang. You can't expect him to do much there. So the setup was nice, though. If you saw what happened, I know it didn't work out. But if you guys are wanting to emulate a setup like that, don't be afraid to try that. So Fallen was jump spotting. He's going to take contact generally, not necessarily fighting, but they're going to see him and they're going to have to worry about him repeating. And a lot of the time, that's just going to allow Fur to just get a freebie for that first guy. And then all of a sudden, there's 30 seconds left. You know how many are probably coming B, and you could react appropriately.
So, obviously, as we mentioned previously, too, SK still having plenty of cash and carrying those umps through from the second round. So they are going to have no problems at all, not only rebuying into this, but also giving Fallen the op, so they're back up to a double op instead of now a better buy than what they had in the last round here. Taco, of course, also saving the UMP, is still going to be sticking with that one, but the rest of the team is now fully armed, and now NRG will have a little bit more to worry about here, since they have dispatched to the UMPs and have to go up against the full M4 buys. Some players even still having extra money after this, too, so we could see another half buy that they would get for free if Taco was able to donate pistols over or something like that. But meanwhile, in the actual round, well, we've got Fallen very aggressively perched up on the car spot. Nice flashbang from way up on top, though. Connects perfectly onto him, makes him miss the shot. Not much damage being returned, though, when NRG does go for the peak. He only loses a quarter of his health, and it gives over a small amount of control to NRG.
Yeah, so B players are out of smokes now in Fur and Fallen, but they do have a lot of control and a lot of information. Fur just playing around the half wall. They're keeping 2B. NRG's kind of letting them have that. Taco saving his smoke. You're usually going to see him save his smoke when he's playing around balcony and pit, just like he is here. And now the XQ comes, and he's just able to play a very strong position.
Well, the rest of NRG, after the smoke is deployed, they do decide to fall back from the mid choke point here, with the exception of Fugly being left inside of Boiler. He sounds the all clear, but still, the rest of them are continuing over towards Banana. SK have not moved off of this, however, either. They still have 2 players sitting pretty much ready for any sort of B hit to work their way over here from CT. And one close to Arch is ready to rotate here too. That's probably going to be Cold Zero in that position. Fallen watching out as well. Spots it first off, but he is going to get smoked. The molly went in the way. They are going to have to use a second smoke to try and get past that cleanly. However, not using so at the moment. What's even worse, Fur getting boosted back up. Fallen able to spot multiple players through the smoke, and this entire hit's just getting absolutely destroyed. Peter's no time left. He's got to run, hide himself away, and attempting to go for an additional kill here. Fur takes him down post-timer, so he'll get no additional cash and only have $1,000 for this round.
Yeah, 2 smoke kills come out. Fallen and Fur both get one. Fur gets a kill above the smoke. That's 3 kills that they got that are just like for free, essentially, right? How are you going to win the round when that happens? When 3 or 4 kills go down where you don't even get a chance to shoot at somebody. So SK played it very, very well. A really good setup. If you notice, they boosted over the smoke, you know, when those smokes went down. So good recognition by them. And now NRG on a save, and it's looking really good for SK.
So now we do see Coldzera is going to be waiting inside. Oh, Fugly just going full speed down through Boiler. Destroys him. Not a whole lot he can do about that. And this is actually falling apart a little bit here on the defense for SK. Phelps is still trying to sneak back in and pick off any additional players that he can. He's got to be careful about this, though. Players can sneak out from the balcony or on the site itself and surprise him, just like his last two teammates had happen to take them out. So now all of a sudden this is going to be put into a 4v3 scenario. Two of the players from NRG also having upgraded guns to work with, mind you, no one having armor, so the rifle is going to be a little bit tricky to use. Fugly could be able to find some impact, however, from his position. Phelps now striking, re-evening out the situation, but Fugly now with that up, striking back. Phelps still trying to sneak back in over here on the barrel side. Great re-peek into the situation from Daps, though, is now he's got the up. He's going to pick up an additional kill against Phelps, and that should pretty much kill this. Fur's got nothing left that he can do in a 1v3, so he's going to be backing away from this. Actually does reinitialize himself into the site, trying to pick off one or two players if he can. And in fact, they will do that, taking out Peter. Unfortunately, doesn't drop either of the ops, so NRG are still going to escape not only with a round that they had no business winning, but two ops as well.
Yeah, I mean, NRG won a round that you're exactly right, had no business winning. Cold gets caught in Boiler. Taco gets caught on the side of the site, trying to get back up into site. There's a little ledge there. He gets taken out. I don't even think he got a kill. And, you know, SK was looking great before that round, but now all of a sudden NRG, I mean, if they win this, SK is going to be on a save and they're going to have a ton of money.
So there's going to be Fallen picking up the first kill here against the Little Man right early on in the round, and thankfully SK did have this.
What do you think about the Little Man from Marquee Swap?
I thought it was interesting. Well, I'm still confused as to the reasoning why it happened. It seemed because I didn't follow it too closely. It seemed like it happened.
They said Marquee just had a lot of communication issues. Yeah. Like Professor Chaos had to call everything for him. I think Professor Chaos is their coach, correct?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, I think he had to like basically calm for him. I think was like the main thing.
I mean, it seemed like he was doing fine for the first couple weeks of Pro League, but then it seemed like he had a huge dive-off in his overall performance. Like, him and Breezy were, like, together. We were just doing fantastic. Especially on, like, Cash, I think they were really good on together. But then that just completely went away halfway through the season, and then I didn't see much from him. It was mainly just Breeze, so I can kind of see why they went for that. However, Phelps is going to do something interesting here now, though, as I'm sure you're seeing. Diving into the smoke at mid-choke point. He did lose Coldzera, however, in the process of this, but maybe he can strike back now as he has his position. I think there's going to be a player behind him, too, and he's got to check this right now. And oh, Peter looks right at him, but apparently didn't see him or have enough time to recover to that, so he gets a double before being traded back out. Now this goes to a 3v2. Fugly and Breeze, the last two standing here for NRG, and they have themselves a position pushed forward, but there's an op shooting back at them over inside of Library with Fallen having control of that. Fugly picks up the kill and pit against Taco, however, and that does secure the site. With 20 seconds left, they'll be able to get the plant, but their health pools are not looking great at the moment, and they don't have any utility to stem the tide for the retake. All of SK should be able to just push directly back in, and so long as they're not too foolhardy about this.
And they're going to wait for Fur to get apartments, and he's probably going to throw a nade right onto Fugly. So Fallen just kind of watching the perimeter, waiting for Fur, and then when Fur's ready to go, that's when they'll actually hit it.
Fur now in position, can deploy utility if he can. Molly's going to go down and pit to make sure that his teammate does not get immediately picked off and going for the site retake. Even works out better because they just bait them both out of cover. And there you go. Like I said before, as long as they don't overplay that, it's a relatively easy retake in the 2v2. And they succeed, getting back onto the winning train here, pushing the scoreline to 5-2.
I mean, they make it look easy, but it's easy because of how patient they are.
Yeah.
Notice how slowly they took it. They waited. They made sure there was no possible way that any of them were going to get flanked. Fallen watched Moto. He watched Porch. He went back to Moto. They go with the proper timings. And then when it's like a 2v1 versus Breeze, what do? They just jiggle peek because they know he's sight, and then they can kill him together. So patience by SK. They're always extremely patient in those close minute situations, and don't give many outs for the T's to win the round. Now PTR getting the best of Fallen on that op kill at Car. While Fallen tries to challenge, he made it 4v5 the round before, but this round gets taken out very early on.
Peter still trying to pop a shot through the half wall there. The smoke does roll in, so trying to counteract. The Opera is getting aggressive, but unfortunately, neither of them from the SK camp were pushed up nearly as far enough. Fallen, though, does actually get taken down by Peter, so off of that, NRG yield the advantage, of course, and there'll be no revenge from SK just as of yet. As we can see, NRG now just moving into the halls to take quick control here, and then probably start their push onto the A-bomb site, where you still have a two-man stack waiting for it. The only problem is going to be as OB rotates, but thankfully they're already sort of preemptively moving over to the site. Phelps moves himself like halfway down highway already, and obviously if he needs to come back, Fur is going to give him a good 5 to 10 second warning to be able to do that with his B position. Even Fur is looking like he may start to push out here in a moment, so NRG, again, the slow pace is kind of fighting against them as it's buying time for SK to find more intel and really get an easy read in terms of what they're actually trying to do for their overall strat.
Yeah, and they're only left with a smoke and a HE grenade, and SK is only left with 3 flashbangs. So very limited utility on both teams. Fur just in a cheeky position, hiding at the car.
And peeking back out, he'll get one. Good damage to a second. Unfortunately, that wood paneling is not going to be the best to cover, but look at all the damage he did. 3 players, around 40 HP or less. Phelps hits the double against Daps and Fugly as they try to move back in, but now he's alone, unfortunately. 10 seconds left. The bomb is coming up to the site, and it's going to peek directly into Phelps, but he misses over to the pistol. Takes down Peter. Now he can just hide. His teammate's going to be coming up trying to get the plant, but Phelps is running. He knows that plant's not going to go down, and he'll just win out the round on the timer.
Yeah, the 2 heroes of that round, Phelps and Fur. I know Fur only got that 1 kill, but he did a ton of damage, and that allowed Phelps. You see when he gets that collateral, both assists are from Fur. If he doesn't get that collateral, and they're able to plant the bomb with 2 players there, and 1 planting and 1 covering, think about how much more difficult that is for Phelps, right? They probably lose that round, because what is he going to try to rush the planter there? Then the other guy just kills him, right? If he lets the bomb go down, then all of a sudden Breeze is flanking and it's a 3v1. So, good damage by Fur. Apartment rush coming out from Fugly. Taka reacting with a Molotov and smoke. Cold again, getting taken out early against these, low bot rounds. Yeah.
Just Tech 9s and CZs they keep getting destroyed by in the early round here. So once again, it's 2 rifles.
Very unlike Cold.
Going into the hands of NRG, and one of them is also an op.
It's really just fallen off a lot, I mean. After that 1.5 rating or whatever at the summit. I mean, come on, man.
It's really got to step it up.
Yeah, you really got to step it up.
Starting to bring the team down.
Yeah.
Well, Fallen is going to get flashed out early on over here behind the Crypts, and Smokes too, but he challenges it, gets a kill. Unfortunately, will be very quickly traded out after he does go into the open there, so it leaves things into a 3v2 now, where more than likely, I don't even know if these well, even if they do, yeah, it's not going too successfully. Furt just kind of walks into an op at the very end of it, and Taco, obviously now that he's alone in a 1v3, there's not going to be a whole lot left that he can do. Just trying to retrieve a better gun and then fall back to save now.
Yeah, I think Cold actually had an op that round as well. I think. I'm not 100%, because, I mean, they did take or actually it might have just been Fallen's op that they picked up. But anyways, Cold again, dying to that pistol, though, allowing NRG to kind of leverage that into a round win. Taco getting really hurt at the start. Everything kind of just fell apart for SK there.
So, Fugly is going to be able to pick up his 3rd and final kill on the round as they do escape with it. Still keeping themselves competitive in this one, and it's going to break SK too, which means they have a good chance to easily pick up a 4th here.
Yeah, and the thing that happened is usually when SK loses rounds, they're able to salvage a gun or 2. They're able to keep their economy intact and whatnot, and then they keep buying aggressively until they break your economy and then build up their own. It's usually how SK CT sides tend to go. This time, though, they're still going to buy aggressively. They have pistols, armors, limited utility, but they're going to buy really aggro here. They're just kind of playing default spots, though. So NRG slowing it down. They have full nades. They have everything they need to, push back the pistols and not take too many risks. And SK already used a lot of their utility. They've already used 2 smokes so far.
So they're going to find themselves fairly limited on their ability to actually hold off the push in a moment here. As NRG is in no rush to close out on this round, just taking their time with it as they have in some of these past ones as well. Just moving up towards alt mid, now probably going to try to send a player or 2 into halls in a second as well. Fugly keeps watching that, but actually no one really heading towards that currently. Just trying to push in towards mid choke, and it's Fugly leading the charge here, but the CTs beyond the threshold trying to defend this area are well behind Smokes. First bit of action, though, is going to come from Little Man, who forces his way in against Further behind the sandbags. Easy kill to pick back up. No one else even here defending the site. Fallen, although the smoke's actually pretty bad. He can see very clearly beyond the right side of that, but I think he's being a little bit cautious of that being done on purpose. So as he does push back in, still really not going to be able to find much, unfortunately, for the CT side. And Daps continuing to spray players from SK down through the smoke there. It's just left the Taco, and it will indeed be an easy 4th round pickup for NRG.
Yeah, and SK SK kind of a little bit impatient from them, right? Like the round is lost at that point when Fur dies there, and it's a 5v4 retake on B when you have just pistols, right? Like the round is lost. You're not going to win that. Kind of forcing it a little bit, going for kills that you really just aren't going to get, most likely. I mean, even if Fallen gets one there, he dies right after, right? So, you know, better thing to do there if you're SK is just kind of save the pistol armor, because they're going to be on a full save next round. So why not just give it another shot, right? Basically, you know, you have pistol armor on 4 players. You're going to be able to have a decent chance of winning the round next round, and also, you know, limiting their economy more. Maybe you go for exits instead of that. So we see SK, they're up 6-4, but NRG has a lot of money off winning those 2 rounds that they were pretty low utility, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the 2 rounds that they won that really brought a lot of momentum into their favor in order to bring it, you know, to 6-4.
Yeah, so now SK going back on to another full save here. And I mean, you're not going to be expecting a whole lot of defense being put up, but just default pistols and like a 5.7 and P250 when you look at Taco and Fur. Unless Taco and Fur can combine, just completely go off here. More than likely, this is going to be another walkover round, and it's going to start off well for Peter as he does move in. Dispatching of coldzera, another opportunity for a kill is actually missed, but bringing Taco down to 19 HP is still going to be a pretty nice advantage that they'll take, especially with no additional damage being traded back out. Beyond this, again, much like the last round, though, NRG are just continuing to take their time, waiting for SK to get impatient, as they have continued to show a pattern of doing. Fallen just peeking out towards Banana there. It's going to be another kill in the favor of NRG. And now the remaining 3, while focusing the defenses over towards the B direction, not really committing people to it, but they're going to try to put a few more players to swing that way in the event. They do end up going up Banana again. But NRG, it is looking like they may decide to investigate towards the other site this time, in which case all they have to do is take down Phelps and Arches, and it is an open site and an open round for NRG to claim a 5th.
Yeah, just going against USPs generally. Taco only even armor in a 5.7, so really easy round for NRG to win. And although SK is looking, you know, a little shaky on a couple of these rounds, they shouldn't have lost, right? You know, just gun-wise, especially the first one that they lost. The second one was a little bit more fair. There was like 2 pistols on NRG, a couple AKs, and an AWP, I believe. But SK has such a good T-side on this map. I remember, gosh, when they played against Cloud9 on it, I think it was, right? It was looking pretty bad for them on CT side, and then they just came back on the T side and won like 13 in a row or something like that. So their T side is pretty dangerous. But NRG, you know, is doing a good job right now getting back into this game.
That is going to be the other thing when we do switch sides. I feel like SK is going to bring a much more complex T side than what NRG brings, and NRG may just not be able to, or NRG may just not be ready for what SK brings and have adequate ways to sort of counter that back out. So I feel like SK are going to have a lot of credit going their way when we do switch sides and put them on the T side.
Well, I don't want to take too much away from NRG because they have been playing well as of now. But I think a few mistakes by SK have really shaped up this game so far in the early portions of it, right? Even going back to the double ump round that they had at B, you know, when Fur was looking away when they just came up. Like, if he's just like looking towards them there, he honestly definitely gets that first kill. I mean, Breeze was the one that killed him. I believe he was weak at the time even. And he probably gets another one, and they probably win that round, right? And then obviously losing the round when Cold's in Boiler to like full pistols, that was basically a full save, I think, by NRG, if I'm not mistaken. They might have had pistol armor. But those 2 rounds especially, I mean, the 3rd round that they lost when Cold got entry with that pistol as well, that was a little bit more fair of a gun round. But those 2 rounds are rounds that SK normally, you know, wins. So a couple mistakes by them are, in my opinion, one of the things where you're like, okay, they lost a couple rounds because of their own mistakes. Is that going to continue to happen, right? Probably not. Yeah.
So hopefully SK can get things together and we'll be able to see them close out. But this would be a huge victory for NRG because they are one of the teams that kind of have a bit of a rougher path here towards the end of it, towards the end of the season. So there's a chance that they could get bumped out of their current top 6 position if they're not careful about some of these tougher matches. But if they can steal even one,
if they just get one match
off of SK, that's like a huge thing that could make the difference.
All 3 sites up.
Breeze catching the first one. Room for Taco to respond, and Breeze continues to push the issue, but it does look like NRG end up coming out on top of it at the end of the day. A 3v2 situation, though, as those rotates are coming in very quickly, and Taco, or Fallen, excuse me, just goes into the open. And that leaves only Fur alive with a full utility kit and just a UMP, who's now really going to have no choice but to probably hang out in library and try to punish anyone from NRG that would get over aggressive here. The round is once again going in to the favor of NRG, and they're going to tie this up at 6-6.
Yeah, and NRG just kind of waiting around, taking control, and as soon as they go out boiler, they go straight up into sight, into porch, and they get a really good sight flash that blinded Cold when he was at he was kind of like that first point of contact. So if he gets that kill and then hides, it makes it pretty easy for the Moto guys. But nobody in pit or anything like that. All three site sides, so a very different look than you're used to seeing if you're a T. But kind of a strange take there, right? They kind of don't just run up. They kind of get up porch and they sort of like jiggle peeking everything and whatnot. As Breeze gets that entry and the second kill onto Taco. So good job by Breeze. Once again, Breeze usually the highlight player for me on NRG.
Yeah. And SK going to be put into a pretty poor situation economically here again. We're going into some of the final rounds of the half. Just upgraded pistols, a few of them able to buy up armor behind it, and Fallen goes for the scout. coldzera is going to be challenging this early on. Good damage, but unable to find that last bullet needed to execute, and Japs even just holding on now with the MAC-10, finalizing a second one on the Taco. And he also got brought down relatively low. In fact, the two that did push in the halls, their combined HP is now 16 between the two of them. So one whiff of the wind, and either one of them are going to end up getting knocked out here. But Fugly's already retreated back. Daps, I think, is just waiting on the steps in case anyone tries to push back out so that he can give the intel. And Daps, I think, even maybe spotting the player. So Phelps is going to have to be careful and watch his back in the moment. But what's more important is that Phelps did spot that re-entry into A, so they are going to send the rotates in the other direction, which allows for Fur to pick up some massive kills here. One on the Deagle, one through the nade. Two of these players are also still lit. If he could knock out Breezy on a repeat here, he could actually just clutch this out solo, essentially. But Breeze is going to be able to find that finalization onto Fur, finally taking him out of the picture. And now it's just on Fault. He is focusing on Breeze at this point, though, and he's going to hit the headshot right on. So once again, the possibility for a clutch is reignited, but he has to watch out for his flank, as Fugly is coming from the other direction, and he needs to check that graveyard position too, which unfortunately he does not. So Daps is going to take him out of the round, finishing it up with a 3K, and now allowing for NRG to take the lead.
Yeah, and NRG with kind of a bit of a botched smoke. But man, they have so much money right now. See, a little bit of a botched smoke allows Fur to get that Deagle kill, the nade onto PTR.
So this will take us into what could be the last gun round here, possibly, if SK ends up losing out on this one. Fallen again, going for the aggressive mid-peak. Thankfully for him, no one on NRG. Well, bit of a two-way street, but no one from NRG is going to actually end up peeking out into mid. So no battle early on here. And NRG themselves do just split up again. Two heading towards the halls, two holding steady on Banana, and obviously Peter with the op watching out for any mid-peaks that he would be able to punish. Fallen has given up his position in the meanwhile, though, falling back and away from this. Fugly peeking out into the halls there. He's going to be checking for players early on, but nothing being spotted by him either.
Yeah, so they send 3 towards A. Phelps kind of in CT spawn. Fur just basically holding B by himself, just right through the smoke at middle.
Peter once again also hitting the first shot against Fallen. Taking him out of the play for yet another round where he often finds himself going down early on, even though he has the op a lot of these times.
Yeah, it's twice now. The PTR has made it 4v5 and by killing Fallen.
Still no sign of where exactly NRG are going to take this, though. At least when you look at the SK players here. As far as we can see, more than likely this is going to end up either being a fake towards A or just a full commitment in a moment. The bomb still being back down cold. Is able to hold off for one player, though, and now this is going to send the spiraling up Banana pretty quickly. Now that they've countered out the balcony pressure, they are being a little bit slow on the lead just because they don't want to give it away right from the get-go of things. But Fur is here, however, he's the only one here. Thankfully, he has the boost up position, but he can only really get one kill confidently from up on top, but he continues to spray into it. Down at 44 HP. And Peter tries to push inside the smoke, I think, and that gives him away. Thankfully, they have Fugly coming in on a counter flank, who's going to be able to punish Phelps. That'll be responded to by Fur. Mind you, the timer getting very low, but Little Man is able to sneak in the plant. Now, though, he's alone against a 1v3. Has to try and look for the ability to clutch this one back out. Basically, no utility to utilize here either. He's going to get aggressive about this, though. And trying to push his way possibly over towards the church, but gets skittish at the last second and falls back to a much more predictable position behind the crypts. He's still continuing to shift it around. He has missed their actual re-entrance onto the site, and they're already on the bomb. Trying to take the first, still gets it, but has to continue spraying into it. Fur's going to be able to escape with that plant before he even peaks, though. And when push comes to shove, coldzera does just hop out, finishes the job with his USP, and SK reties this match back up at 7-7.
Yeah, for already at 17 frags, 17-6, just top of the server. Just crazy how good this guy is. You know, like a lot of time when you're shooting like that kill, if you watch from Fugly's point of view, he's just like moving the whole time, and like it looks like he's pre-firing and moving and killing you so fast. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
For at the moment seems to be in a lot of ways like single-handedly saving all these B site takes. As we saw there, he kind of destroyed it enough so that they could very easily retake that situation, and in a few other rounds he's had quite a large amount of presence there too. So into the last round, we're gonna go now. And again, it's slow and quiet at the start from NRG. Just having one player this time go into the halls, at least further up into it. Fallen does spot the jump at half wall, but he does not want to stick around the challenge. He's had a pretty poor track record with challenging things out here, just at the edge of B. So he is going to decide to give up his position and just fall back to the site instead. And we have a possible duel going to be happening here on the balcony too. Daps and Taco have not peeked out enough to be able to spot each other just yet. But off of those bullets, well, Daps decides to go for it, but Taco still able to react to it in time to pick up the kill. Still up and rolling with 13 HP as well, and still up on that balcony position, which is the most surprising aspect of this right now. Only just at that moment does he fall back into pit. Little Man finally trading out a kill on a coldzera after he picks up the frag on Breeze. Phelps is still here though. He's rotated in the situation. If they cross out, it's going to be so hard to get past this setup currently. Thankfully, though, they do end up making it happen, but heavy damage on the Fugly. Rotates already pretty much having arrived. Peter needs to sink this shot on the Fur for them to have a chance at this. Otherwise, round's going to be over, so there's no way Fugly surviving with 16 HP. They succeed at it, though, so now it's down to Fallen to clutch this out in the 1v2. He's already got a position past Library, heading over here towards Moto right now. They are paying attention to that direction, but Fallen's going to have a tough time spotting Fugly right over there. Finally sees the head peeking out, but Fugly can just duck away now, wait for his teammate to go for it. Flashbang hitting, he's going to try to work this with a pistol. Instant headshot onto Fugly to close out. Now the smoke gets in the way. That'll force Peter to make a move. They try to get up close and personal here. Fallen spotting him, but can't hit his bullets. Now he's out of ammo on the pistol, has to go over to the up, but he'll be unsuccessful in hitting the kill. So Peter clutches it out in the end, and we do see the 8-7 lead going by the way of NRG to close out the first half. Stick with us, guys. It's a close match, and you don't want to miss the second half.
ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Logitech G, Pay Safeguard, Legion Lenovo, Mountain Dew League, and ESEA.
Well, welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League. NRG versus SK, well on its way into map number 1 here, and it's been a little bit closer than we've expected. A few crucial mistakes from the SK camp has allowed for NRG to not only round an early comeback touch after SK took the lead, but also take the lead themselves at the end of the half, now leading 8-7 coming off of their T side.
Yeah, I mean, they were down. NRG was 6-2. They win a couple swing rounds. They get a ton of money during that end of that half. Able to kind of bring it back, despite for being 17-7. The thing about NRG is, though, you know, I watched them at Copenhagen games, and they played a very similar style. And they lost to, when I was watching, they lost to Tricked, I believe it was, with Hunden, Asilion, you know, who was on a team that like got relegated, for instance.
Yeah.
Last season in Splice, when he was in North America. they had Freeze, and I can't remember the 2 other players, but they played Inferno the exact same way. But you want to know what the difference was? Is that those important kills that they're getting now, where Breeze goes up Porch, and let's be real, he's like entering SK, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one round they had 3 players side. He killed Cold, he killed the player at default. You're going to win that round every single time if you're NRG, right? And NRG did the exact same thing as they're doing now. But the difference on land was those kills didn't happen. Like, Breeze wasn't able to just run up the site and entry frag people like that because they just have a way better advantage on land. You know, like the kill's just going to go the player on land's way so much more often than not. Now they have a 3B setup, Staff spotting A-halls, but that was like the big difference. They played the same way, but those kills are just aren't there on land, you know? Like, Hunden just dominated them.
So what you're saying here is Hunden is just a land god waiting to be here.
Or maybe NRG just not a land squad.
Well, here in this round, Breeze.
Well, NRG really does lack, in my opinion, without Marky especially. I don't think they have much firepower, to be honest.
No, I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, look at them across the board here. Play on Breeze, you don't really see a lot of consistency coming in that respect, but the fight is on for control of the A-bomb set, and for the most part, it's going into the favor of SK. Still leaves it into an even 3v3, as we do end up seeing Breeze kind of back up the library there. Gives up his own position as he waits for the B rotators to move back into the site. They are trying to move in pretty quickly for the retake, but it's all SK right now. Fugly responding. That's going to be it afterwards, though. Furt takes it down, and SK close out the pistol and have their path back to their lead.
Yeah, but then again, if you're NRG, right, even if you're losing rounds, but you're like, I mean, say you're in a 5v5, there's 40 seconds left, the CTs don't have a bunch of smokes and mollies, and then you're hitting a site, right? And they don't have the site stacked. Even if you lose that round, I guess you're probably like fine with, like, strategy-wise, you're like, well, I mean, it was like a 5v2 over there at B when we hit it, you know? I mean, we just got to do a better job of taking the site, right? So, anyways, Anti-Eco comes out. PTR gets the best of Fur right away. He doesn't even have any armor or anything like that. So, 2 players are in B for SK. And this is going to end up being a retake for NRG. They're going to be able to get bomb down, though.
As we have the bomb coming up from Banana right now. The re-smoke going to be working its way in. So still going to try to deny access for as long as possible against NRG, but they're running out of this utility very quickly. In fact, now they're just down to flashbangs. Tried to boost up onto the flower pot, spotted by Phelps though, and in fact he picked off Breeze, I think, on the way down. It was the player that boosted him up originally. Now the other 3 kind of are in the site, I should say, that are kind of wrapped around it.
Very conservative call by NRG. They're just going to save and try to contain them. I was laughing so hard at Beyond the Summit when Fallen was talking about the anti-eco. So they played against, actually, I can't remember. It was online, I believe. But do you remember when they stacked 5 connector or 5 in construction?
Well, I think
it might have been on land. It was on Inferno versus C9.
Yeah, I think I'm vaguely remembering.
Okay, well they stacked 5 in construction, right?
Yeah.
Just with the USBs. And Fur and Phelps ran in there and died. And Fallen was like pissed. He's like, what are you guys doing, man? We could have lost the round. It ended up Cold winning a 2v1, right? And then he said that Fur and Phelps were just like, what do you mean, man? It was just a great anti-eco by them. When I heard that, I was really laughing, dude, because they just had 5 in construction, and he ran in there with like a MAC-10 and died. And then Phelps died after, you know, because they were both trying to just, you know, like that's how they play. They're very aggressive on those rounds. And he just goes, yeah, man, it was just a great anti-eco by them. I was like, that is the funniest thing.
Well, NRG are going to have to go up against the anti-eco from SK heading into this 3rd round now. And we do indeed see, well, 1 sneak kill coming out there from Little Man. Phelps kind of losing himself in the process, too, looking every which way. Fallen's got it under control, though. He gets the nice double kill, and that should pretty much settle the score. Daps and Fugly are separated here. Daps trying to do what he can, but it's not going to be much. And there you go. That's the full setup now to allow SK not only take the lead, but they'll have a 2-round advantage as we get into the gun round.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, Blue, but I could, like, if I was Fallen and, like, or if I was on a team, right, and they, like, both my players, like, we almost lost that round, I would be pretty pissed.
Yeah.
But then if they said that, if they're like, man, they just had a great setup, there's no way I could be mad after that. I would just be laughing. I'm like, all right, that was pretty clever. How could I be mad when, you know?
Is this like when you hopped around Chicken Coop the other night, that rank S game?
Oh, you saw that?
Yeah.
damn, if that was planted on the other side.
Yeah.
The problem is their team had such bad communication, right? They had like 2 Brazilian players. They had both the French players, and then they had Ruru, I think, who like doesn't even speak.
Yeah.
So they just had the worst communication. So even though one player cleared chicken coop, he probably didn't even call it. Or he probably said it in like a different, like, you know, like instead of calling it coop, he called it like shack. You know,
just
so
said
like
it
that.
really quickly or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So then another guy was just watching it for some reason.
Yeah, that was
really funny though, right? Playing Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah. All right, well, back into the gun round now as we refocus into this game. We've got SK built up, but obviously still working with those umps again, which did come back to bite them a little bit. But, well,
again?
Peter again versus Fallen.
Was that 3 or 4 times?
That's got to be, I think it's the 4th.
Yeah.
And he destroys Fallen in a 1v1 at the moment. Peter just dominating as we come to expect in this arena anyway. And now...
Fallen's no match for Pete on
dude.
the net.
on the internet connection is way better here. So the funny thing is,
Peter
too,
is
I
gonna
think
kill Fur too.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure SK have like crazy ping for
Really?
these matches. Well, like
What is it?
good ping, good ping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like hold tab. Let me see it. Oh, never mind. This is pretty bad in this match.
Just insanely good.
No, I remember because sometimes they play West Coast servers and they legit have like 5 or 6 ping to West Coast servers.
Well, NRG, I'm not sure where all the players are at, like location-wise. Actually,
I know at one point.
are you?
Well, SK is obviously like around us.
Yeah,
here in LA.
yeah, they're around LA for sure.
NRG, I feel like they had an LA team house at one point, but I don't think they do
No, they
anymore.
did, but
So
that
I
was
thi-
with the German players.
Yeah, I think they're all like in their own separate houses and stuff at this point. As far as I know, I could be wrong about that. Peter is going to continue his rampage, though, as now he's up to 3. Fortunately, SK just keep walking into their own deaths, it seems like, and now it's down to Cold. Literally 0 damage done to anyone on Energy so far in this round with 20 seconds left. Interestingly enough, they didn't kill the bomb, so the bomb has gone undetected all this time. And good attempt from Cold to make something happen there at the end, but they were both double peaked, so easy trade for Daps to get and close out the round.
Yeah, very clean round. Large part due to PTR. Kills Fallen at the start. Reaggresses Boiler. This is a very powerful thing to do on Inferno. Is you reaggress on port side mid with an op, especially like post mid control. It's really easy to kill anybody posted up around Boiler or top mid or anything like that.
So now this is going to give Energy the slight advantage. Obviously, SK winning out those first 2 rounds really cleanly again, and they are going to be able to get back into the bye. 4 Ks in the op going on to Fallen. And we have them split up in the early round here once more. Very, very similar to the early splits you were seeing from NRG, actually. We've got quite a few players trying to push up towards Hall, about 2 or 3 of them. One guy watching out in case they try to get aggressive at mid, and then the other 2 kind of just casually waiting either at the very entrance towards Banana or further back down, as you see now, behind the crossroads, as they put a little bit more focus on mid this time instead of going directly for the bottom Banana control. As obviously, as we can see now, Peter continues to wait from this position and tries to pick players off early on from the half wall, and he's been pretty sufficient at that. Even going back over to the T side too, he's been really good at kind of dominating Banana in the early portions of the round. So,
yeah, NRG just taking risks all the time on their Inferno. Like they do it quite often, where they have 4A, 1B, and if you remember last time, they took risks even in like 4v5s. That I was kind of questioning a little bit. But anyways, SK retaking B control. Taco still at Halls. We have Fur hanging around alt mid and middle. So they have a lot of options right now with 30 seconds left, but they're going to have to pick quick whether they want to go to B or A. They throw a smoke B, and it looks like they're going to take bomb up A.
Well, there's still a 3 stack from Energy, so this could actually be a little bit rough for them too, just waiting on the site. Taco flashing out first here, but waiting for his teammates to wrap back around library side before he decides to commit himself to it. So this is going to be a very disjointed hit as well. But the good news is it could work itself to actually be a pinch onto these players on the site. And there we go, 1, 2 down, no trades at all. They didn't spot the 3rd guy yet, and it's going to be Breeze trying to make an effort to come back here. Unfortunately, not too successful in his regard, and anybody else from Energy that tries to roll into the site only picks up 1 kill at max. Peter, left alone now, is going to be falling back to save, is to let SK pick up the 11th.
Yeah, it's 0 margin for error there if you're SK. And NRG with that triple site setup is a pretty big counter, or is countered pretty heavily by that 3 wrap. So it's just a 1-1-3, 1 Porch. Porch had bomb, actually, so that could have went very poorly if there was any re-aggression towards Porch. And especially with 15 seconds left by the time they were wrapping, zero margin for error in that round. If anything goes wrong, if the planner dies, you know, going up porch by himself with the bomb, like that round's over, right? So SK playing with fire with the clock, but at the end of the day, when you have 3 A site and you have 3 people rapping on them, it's very, very T-sided. Especially when the A halls player isn't like the first to go out and die.
Yeah.
Because then you have to watch A halls and you also have to watch them directly behind you. It's really difficult. And A halls, you can't really hide behind any of those boxes except for like that middle box to watch rap, right? Because you could just like be seen, obviously, in a lot of those situations, even if you're crouched.
So SK coming out with a good adjustment there at the end and a good crunch onto the site. It gives them the round just when time seemed like it was going to be working against them. Works into their favor now. But the guys from NRG go right back into their early kill advantage spree as you know, they've got Breezy picking off Fur right at the start again. Another 5v4 advantage to NRG. That trend continues just like it was in the first half here. Peter also pushed up a little bit in the halls early on.
Flashman. So for Taco to peek A halls, like right where he is, if you look at the minimap, or if we can go to Taco very quickly, they had a teammate, I believe it was a person with the bomb, Cold. He flashed from around bench area, and it landed right in that doorway. So if anybody was peeking there with an op or anything like that, he would have just wrecked them.
Yeah, and there'd be like no time to react to anything like that too, as that would just land right.
Oh, it's
in
like
the
a
corner.
perfect pop flash, yeah.
But beyond that, no one from NRG is going to be losing their position based off of that. So we do have NRG still splitting up evenly with the 5v4 advantage. No progress has been made by SK really to take map control here either. Obviously, NRG gave up like aggressive B control, but that was by their own doing. And there's also no one pushed up around either porch or rap side here. Again, though, a choice that they themselves have made. So overall, NRG not really too worried about this situation yet. But once again, we're going to see a late push coming back in. And Peter almost called out early on. In fact, he probably still will end up getting called out. The good news is, though, is that by getting aggressive there, he does spot the play. Phelps also catches his teammate, though, so Peter's going to be able to do nothing about this situation after he gets flashed out afterwards. 2 kills. They've got the site. It's a 3v3, an even scenario, but still, SK are so well bunkered down at this point that this is going to be rough for the retake with everybody coming back in from the arch side. Fallen can just camp in this position and really pick them off one by one, as they also don't have any utility to get back in. So NRG is going to decide this is not really worth it, and they'll give up to save.
This is a good save. I don't think they would win this round, but they just, again, they send 3 towards B in a 4v5 where they have 5 and SK has 4, and they take a risk like that. So every single round, NRG is taking risks every single round. Whether that's how they always play Inferno, I think it is, just judging by what I've seen, you know, the couple matches we've seen. But maybe they're doing it even more because they don't really believe that, like, they could hold, you know, any type of default setup, even if it's a 4v5 in their favor against SK, right? Maybe it's one of those things where they're thinking, you know, we're playing against SK, we lose to them repeatedly. I don't trust ourselves to not win without taking those type of risks. That could very well be what we're seeing. This, I don't understand why NRG. They just, you know, they save those 3 guns, but they don't even buy behind it. I don't know why you don't drop like an ump each. It's a PTR and low man here. Yeah,
PTR just gets dropped with CZ. I think that was saved
the money
last
right
round. Not too good.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I don't know. I would definitely drop like an ump each and just try to buy aggressively here. Because that's a way better way to try to upset somebody, is doing that than it is doing like what they did last round, where they just take like a huge risk in a 4v5 scenario.
They don't buy up any additional. They don't really have the capacity to, granted, but even so, they also don't really try to buy up any utility behind the players that did actually save. So they're still only working with, well, nothing now.
Well, I think that's fine, right? But if you get like the 2 umps and you buy, and you still can buy the next round, the problem is they just don't have people that are like comfortable umping. Honestly, it's huge to have people who are able to make an impact with umps. Everybody at a top level needs to be able to do that.
Fugly gets himself into an actually really nice position here. Timing works out beautifully for him as he's pushing up. He catches someone trying to set up a smoke. So early 5v4 advantage again. But keep in mind, this means very little. It's been the same situation for the last like 2 or 3 rounds now, and SK has still been able to battle back for the most part and claim the round, despite getting aggressive onto A. This time, though, it seems like things may be heading in the other direction. They've got 2 players lined up to swing right head on into B, and they've also got a few more players on the rap side here, which means we could see an A pinch leading over into the B bomb site. as we see them creeping up towards Arches now. Breeze in the first battle, but loses out now. Burr's going to be able to continue through. Phelps gets himself a double lineup against Little Man and Peter, and swinging into it, just finds another target waiting for him in CT. No trades at all. Fugly's the last man standing. This is more than likely going to be around for SK. As they do get the bomb down, the timer issue's gone away, and for Fugly, as he retrieves the op, he's going to be falling way back, probably towards T-spawn to save.
Yeah, I mean, again, they get the bomb down with about 3 seconds left. That kill at Arch pulled both B players off. And they push. I mean, in that situation, if those B players just stand pat, there's only, I believe it was 2 players coming to B with bomb, right?
The other 2 were wrapping.
Yeah, so the way you want to think about it, if you're NRG in that situation, is are we going to win the round if we rotate 2 seconds earlier? You know, is that really going to make that much of a difference that we play undisciplined in that aspect? That's how you have to think about it. If you watch, we watch Cloud9 a lot, right? And they almost never over-rotate unless they see bomb. So in that situation, if you just stay disciplined, you stand pat, you almost certainly win that round.
Well, we do end up at a pause now for NRG as they are needing to take a moment here. SK continue to kind of run them over with just seconds left on the clock. And it is getting in the way of their ability to steal this map, as they were doing pretty good in the first half, but it has not carried over too well into their CT side just as of yet. SK has shown themselves to be superior here so far, and after saving those guns, unfortunately they're not going to get a whole lot done going into their next round here either, as we can see for the most part. Well, you guys will see it in a second, but it's just going to be CZs and other like $500 pistols again with armor biops and a little bit of utility, and that's going to be the most that they'll bring to the table. So their track record for these, I mean, you look back to their T side, it was actually relatively good in the way that they were able to kind of run over SK, but they no longer have the ability to necessarily do that. So, and I'm sure SK has also kind of started to watch out for that a little bit more too, based on what happened in the last half. So it won't be as easy to upset here anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I just really strategically am against the way NRG plays. Giant risks on CT side. I don't know how you're ever going to consistently beat people and also improve doing that. Almost every single round, giant risks, even when it's, wow, those nades.
Just completely destroys coldzera and Fallen's help pool right at the start.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it wasn't a little bit closer, so that could have been the end of both those players. But yeah, coldzera and Fallen probably going to have to be hanging back a little bit more for the start of this one. They do try to respond with one of their own nades, but way off the mark. Little Man, pretty far away from that one, is able to only take like 2 or 3 damage from it. So he'll still be sitting fine. And SK themselves trying to test the waters early on here. As we can see, Taco's been playing around with the long haul for quite some time now, trying to catch a Little Man or anyone else that would try to test him inside of the hull itself, but they're not going for it. Fur is going to get pushed past the mid-choke point by a CT smoke. And now he's kind of hoping that off the smoke they may try to push back up themselves here, and they may just get that with Daps hiding out. Daps, though, again, getting the better of a player with just a CZ in hand. He's able to take down Fur. Not going to be sticking around for too much longer after that, but some of the other members of NRG are going to get their confidence back. This doesn't work out as well, however. coldzera picking up a kill. Was brought down extremely low from the play, but now Taco is able to strike out from the balcony there. And it's not just him either. It's Phelps picking up an additional kill on Daps. 4v2 is the way this situation is going to go. Both trying to rat back in from Banana. And in a moment, Fallen should be able to hear them or spot them if he goes for the peek at mid. Try to isolate them, although he's not actually paying attention to it at all right now, and he's going to end up just peeking into his own death. That's an op into the hands of Fugly.
Saved op.
And the op will run back, as you mentioned, to save in T-spawn, and Fugly will just hold at the choke point again, make sure no one else from SK tries to test them. And if he can escape with like an AK or something, that would be great, but overall, the round is going to go into SK's favor.
I mean, there's a reason why they're like the only team that plays like that, you know? Like NRG is. It's because it's not the best way to play. It's like being that. I want to hear what Vendetta will have to say about like the way they buy. I think Vendetta, you've probably seen enough of NRG to kind of get a feel of like how they buy, right? And like I want to hear your opinion on it when we go back to the analyst desk, because to me it's just like you're so working against yourself, you know? When you watch SK, when you watch these really good teams like Astralis and whatnot play, you save one off on CT especially, and you surround it with umps, and all of a sudden you have an extremely deadly round, you know?
Yeah.
When you have players who know how to ump, who know how to mag 7, honestly, the ump costs 1200. It's not that much worse than the M4. You're really working against yourself in the ecosystem that, you know, the developers have like made for this game. Oh my goodness. That is a lot of damage to him.
It's just under 75 damage being done to Peter from the mollies. He sits in it hoping there was a peek from SK, but definitely did not get that. In fact, SK avoided Banana this round like the plague after throwing out that molly, so Peter is going to end up eating a lot of damage for very little reason behind it. And that could come to hurt later on in the round if he has to go for any more aggressive peeks into the open, and he's basically one-shotable now by anyone. Beyond this, though, SK are posturing up for what may turn itself into a very, very straightforward hit onto the site. Already trying to line up smokes, and one out first is going to end up backing out to regroup with the mid push, but they've got two ready to go at the balcony. They are probably going to wait for the other players in mid to get through first, just so they don't end up going down without any responses at all, but they're set up for it. They're ready to move back in. NRG have reacted to this one, however. As we can see, they've got 4 players sitting in the site ready to counteract this, and have only left Fugly back over on B. So in the event that SK pull a quick turnaround here and head to the other side, needed to pull off some big moves, but thankfully that's not going to happen this time. They do try to go for quick pit control. Breeze is able to hold that. No response, and in fact, he even swings out for a 3rd kill now. Peter chiming in for one of the last ones. Just Fallen has survived, and he's not going to last much longer. Breeze gets a 4K, and NRG have finally picked up a gun around here to bring them back in the game.
Hold by Breeze, 4K by him. And again, they had 4 towards A, only 1 towards B, so another, risk by NRG. Maybe they look at the map as like just the most T-sided map ever, and like the only way you can win CT-side rounds is by taking like just always having like an extra guy at the site. And if they go to the opposite way of the site, you probably lose the round. But whatever. Oh, let's see if Colt throws that flash.
Peter's trying to change it out right now.
Let's see. I think he's gonna throw it. Oh no, Pete left.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome to see, though.
You can see the path of the flash a little bit better, as we were talking about just 2 or 3 rounds back, so it goes back in.
I thought it was going to be a little bit poppier, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think you get it.
It just kind of knocks it off the wall.
He might have missed it a little bit there that time. But
No, that's definitely how he throws it.
Yeah.
He just throws it off the wall, and then it pops inside. I just thought it would be like a little, just a lob, and then just bam.
And then it just explodes in the door without any hearing the ticks.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so you get a little bit of warning on that flash. Beyond that, though, it's just SK taking Hall's control, which is not too much of an eventful thing there. It's been very easy to take that control, so SK, just the first step in their master plan here is they do have like a weird split of players, though. In fact, these guys are getting really aggressive on B while still holding Hall's control. Phelps is already sneaking in. He's even got support from Fallen if he needs to. Phelps is going to try to be really sneaky about the way he does this, though. If he can just take down Fugly, I think the smoke's just going to get in the way, but not in the other direction. Fugly's still able to spot some part of Phelps and punish him for getting that aggressive. So another 5v4 advantage going by the way of SK, and it's looking like, or excuse me, going by the way of NRG, and it's looking like that trend is going to continue. Fugly and Breezy, and now Peter picking up these early kills. It's down to Taco now in the pit. He's not going to be able to get a whole lot done on his own. Should note there's 18 seconds left, so if Taco wanted to, he could have just tried to hold that off and prevent the plant, but it doesn't work out. Just tries to go aggressively into the open, and that's where NRG are going to shut it down to pick up an 11th.
Yeah, and SK, not great money. NRG has just a default pull that round. And they do a great job, and they win the round extremely clean. So Fugly did an awesome job at B. Smoke dissipates right when Fallen wasn't ready for it. And now we just see Tech 9s, limited utility, and a few armors on SK. I like that, where they had that player just kind of jump through Boiler, jump across, and just a spot for info. And he saw maybe 3 people all mid. So what do? They get PTR pushed up B, and now they rotate Fugly off. But this is actually a good, risk, right? Even though they're going up against Tech 9s, PTR has full banana control. There's no nades. He also has a smoke and a flash, and they saw a bunch of people all.
Breeze is going to get flashed out, so they're getting prepped for this. Breeze gets it a second time, though, so he's not able to help out too much in the situation. Even when the flash finally goes away, SK are just cleaning up shop. Phelps, Fur, and Cold all pick up those 4 kills. And it doesn't even seem like they gave NRG a chance at that one. Peter, back down banana, just gives away his position. And now that's going to be the end of it. SK are going to push forward into 15 rounds, and they'll even move in to hunt down Pete in a second here.
Yeah, I mean, they have a smoke, 2 flashes. Everybody else, 3 armors and 2 Tech 9s with no armor. And you're going against 4 players who are all ready for the hit, who pretty much know what's happening. And you lose that round. So I'm not sure exactly what happened with the hold there, if there was team flashes going off or what. But I mean, the take was even disjointed. They had a smoke out at Halls. Like, that should have been a very, very easy, clean hold and easy round for NRG. And instead, we see SK Gaming, stealing a round away from that they had no business winning. But at the same time, I mean, NRG won, a very similar round to that on their T side as well, right? So it kind of evens out.
Yeah, we can see it again. Just textbook execution as they do eventually get back in there. The flashbangs earlier on that you saw in a Breeze too just completely killed him. He was set up again to multi-frag there if he didn't get hit with anything, but the flashbang just killed it and he didn't even get a chance to respond to it. I imagine some other players had to suffer for a similar fate. So now let's put us up to map point here with SK leading the charge in it. They do also try to push up Banana a little bit more heavily this time. This is a bit of an uncommon trend for them for the most part. They have been fine to just hold back on Banana. They're hold at the crossroads or here around the logs and then push in later. This time they are going to just essentially just go for it for the most part, and they're going to need to speed that up a bit as there's other players from NRG already pushed past the CT halls and out into the T halls now and are going to be able to inspect this, flank around them. SK are going to very quickly lose the control of the map that they just worked so hard to gain, but they're not only going to get the first kill, but the second kill as well. That's the entire B defense cleaned up. The one rotator working his way over from the other site is going to be able to impact a little bit, but we also have players trying to work their way in from the other direction, and Fallen handles both of them, and the second one with style. Gets the headshot on a Breeze. Now it's just Daps holding on his own, and finally he might have met his match here against Fallen in a moment. Indeed, Fallen will push through, getting a third and final headshot to close out on the map, and it's going to be SK that take control of Inferno and push themselves one more map away from a guaranteed playoff spot.
Yeah, and NRG, like I said, just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the way they play Inferno and the way they buy CT side. Just every single round. I mean, they're just taking a huge risk. Every single round on CT side. Just a giant risk. And it's like, I don't know how maybe you just think it's impossible to hold on CT Inferno. Maybe it's just because they're playing against SK and they feel like if we try to play them straight up, there's no way we're going to win. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I mean, the way they buy economically as well translates to every map. And I just think it is one of the worst ways to play. I really do.
All right, well, let's bring the analysts into the conversation. I'll get their thoughts on what Daze was actually just talking about there. The plays that we're seeing there on the CT side for NRG, warranted or a little bit, over aggressive for what we saw?
Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's way too over aggressive, especially if you know who you're going up against as well. Because SK has had tendencies when they've played Inferno in previous matchups to not really necessarily utilize the map too well when they're given the map space, really. We've seen multiple times that they've struggled, even though they're given Banana control, it'll end up with Phelps getting caught out by his lonesome when, SK feel like they have Banana control and that kind of stuff, and that's something they get punished for heavily. We saw that versus Gambit this weekend. I think something like that would have been for NRG to take advantage of. But to be fair, SK did make small adaptations to it as well. We could see a bit more labored tempo going towards Banana initially at the start of the rounds compared to what we saw earlier too.
Well, even if we do look at the energy side of things, right? We have Fugly pushing the extremities at time to time, and we see him catch Cold, or excuse me, not Cold, Fallen out at least once, or catch someone with their pants down, and it's plays like that that can really propel you forward in a round.
It definitely can. And there is merit to doing it every now and again, but obviously doing it every single round, that becomes that way it becomes a pattern that becomes very easy to read for the T's, and eventually you just set up in a situation where SK, for a lot of the rounds really on this side, actually ended up running the time down to like 15-20 seconds before they actually committed to a bomb site. If they're expecting a push and they actually get one pick off of that, then that's they're perfectly fine to play with that.
Well, let's take a look now at round 20. I do believe we have it loaded up for you guys. Vendetta, walk us through this.
Yeah, so basically this is where we're going to see a late Banana take from SK, or they're going to re-aggress or get map control towards Banana initially late into the round. Which, again, is just going to keep the two NRG players on B on that bomb site. They're not going to be allowed to cheat over. Peter's not going to be able to hold that bomb site alone, and that's where you see them re-aggress towards A again, while Taco's throwing out nades and everything to disallow any rotation. So anywhere, he's just going to keep people in place with the nades he's throwing. That's going to allow for the rest of the SK squad to wrap around Arch. And with this passive setup from NRG for once, where they actually play 3 on bomb site, having so many people coming around Rap is just going to leave them in a terrible position where they actually have no legitimate chance of actually getting multi-kills if you're on the CT side.
Almost fish in the barrel at that point.
Yeah, very much so, and that's kind of the big downside of playing passively and not having any control like that passively. Obviously, we talked about NRG taking too many chances. This is also a chance, even though it's a defensive one, because you're basically banking on everything. Like you're gonna hit your shots the second you see them, because if you don't, you're completely screwed. You're gonna get overrun, and especially because you haven't given yourself enough time to actually have the information that SK are pushing up, for instance. So you're kind of just stuck on a site, don't really have any shot at getting any help from B because the rotations are going to be late because what SK did with re-aggressing towards banana right before they swung back to A.
Well, we see Inferno go in the way of SK. They're one map win away at this time from securing their place in the finals in Dallas. Should we expect just an overconfident? Should we expect a powerhouse SK to show up here on train? Lord.
Honestly, I think it's. Yeah, you would like to say yes, but obviously SK hasn't really played well at all on train as of late. Especially their CT size has been rather messy. So I don't think we can expect a powerhouse performance, but I do think we're going to see an SK strong enough to win.
Well, we're going to go to an extended break because Volvo has pushed out a release and there has been an update to the game. So with that being said, we'll be coming back at a rather longer amount of time than usual. So make sure you don't go anywhere and watch this whole screen.